Modernity and modernism are tightly linked and displayed through Chaplin's use of technology throughout modern times. Of course, being Chaplin, he uses comedy as a means of depicting the world around him. Chaplin sets up the theme of modernism, or his own vision of modernity, immediately in the first three shots of the film. First, he shows us a ticking clock, a clear symbol of modernity, the focus of his film. Next, he shows us a herd of sheep, directly followed by a herd of working men. Here, he is commenting on the lack of individuality brought about by capitalism. We see immediately that he has set out to negatively critique modernity. As Hoberman says, the subversion of public order, the potential for anarchy, was inextricably bound up in the Chaplin persona. He always found a way up authority's nose. Note the overheated conditions. The laborer is shirtless. Note the overworked conditions. The laborer punches out to go to the bathroom. Let's take a look at how he continues to argue against capitalism through technology. There's a focus on a lack of human connection as a result of the factory's emphasis on technology. Note how the boss yells at his workers, but not in person.
Quit stalling. Get back to work. Go on.
It's easier for him to be cruel when he is disconnected. He shows individual workers performing simple and repetitive tasks, a representation realistic to the time and place, but the tasks he shows are meaningless and silly, a commentary in itself with far deeper value than its comedy. The most notable criticism of modernity comes into play using one of Chaplin's favorite props, food. The food machine is initially introduced to the factory boss in his office by way of the mechanical salesman. Let's watch.
Good morning, my friends. This record comes to you through the Sales Talk Transcription Company, Incorporated. Your speaker, the mechanical salesman. May I take the pleasure of introducing Mr. J. Willicombe Billows, the inventor of the Billows Feeding Machine, a practical device which automatically feeds your men while at work. Don't stop for lunch. Be ahead of your competitor.
It's funny. This is one of the few scenes in which Chaplin installs sound somewhat. The talking, however, is a technology's and not a human's. Chaplin chooses to add this extra mechanism as a way to comment on how new technologies and power dynamics are taking away genuine human interactions. The lack of human connection is emphasized by the wide shot. While close-ups are generally used to communicate emotion, the only real close-ups in the boss's office are of the machine's components. This is an ironic display, again, of the lack of humanity involved in capitalism. Despite the lack of emotion and useless mechanical introductions, the boss's office appears to be a very nice and comfortable place. The food machine works properly, and the demonstration works well. The scenes in the factory, however, are completely opposite. But first, let's watch the scene leading up to the worker's introduction to the food machine. This scene is an important addition, not only because it adds comedy, but because it shows the draw of the food machine from the worker's perspective. Even when not working, some workers prove to need a little help with consuming lunch. This is Chaplin's comedic way of saying that he could see why modern society was initially persuaded into capitalism. He sees that there's reason behind the draw. Says Orgeron, Chaplin's critique is transparent here, as he derides the taylorization of America through the working man's stomach. When the food machine is presented to the factory workers, the first item given to the tramp is soup. After that last bit where the tramp ruins his co-worker's soup, this first course proves to be desirable, even to the workers. When the machine begins to malfunction, however, the audience can see the lack of human connection in the factory itself. The tramp is strapped into the machine in order to be able to work through lunch, which, like capitalism, is physically and theoretically oppressive to the laborer. With the close-up, the audience is able to read the tramp's pain, though the actors in the scene seem to be ignorant. In fact, the machine gets turned down not because of how utterly oppressive it is, but rather due to its lack of efficiency. The title card at the closing of the scene reads, "It's no good. It isn't practical." Though title cards are fairly extinct at this point in cinema, the words are both comedic and disturbing, and truly worth Chaplin's writing out. Modern Times has a very cyclic structure, and the mirroring scenes, though varied in substance, tend to provide similar overall commentary. I read the cycles as a symbol of capitalism headed nowhere. In this vein, there are two factory lunch scenes that Chaplin uses to criticize modernity and capitalism. The second scene is later in the movie and does not involve the food machine, but still manages to show the dehumanization in a factory. The way the tramp forces food down his boss's throat and utilizes a turkey as a feeding funnel is incredibly distant and oppressive, but to the tramp seems appropriate because his standards have been influenced by his surroundings. Humans begin to oppress each other in the context of capitalism. The tramp here is so distanced from his coworker that he does not realize the funnel, the technology, is not the problem, and employs a turkey as a funnel. This again emphasizes the disconnect between humans caused by distancing technology. Chaplin is known to take very heavy themes and make them watchable to an audience. He sends a lot of messages, but takes care in doing so, in a way that allows people to laugh. Says Fisk, "Let us realize that at the age of 26, Charles Chaplin has made the whole world laugh. This proves that his work possesses a quality more vital than mere clowning." Chaplin made everything in the factory appear humorous, from the large, silly gears all about to his ridiculous job on the assembly line. He used comedy as an outlet for change, or as an expression of a reluctance to it. He pokes fun at the idea of talkies by allowing his only speech throughout the whole movie to be a song of complete gibberish. According to Charney, modernity generated a perceptual climate of overstimulation, distraction, and sensation. Much like the different parts of a production line famous to Fordism and Taylorism in the industrial age, making up the whole of a product, an idea in cinema is separated into individual moments that make up a whole, and the way we distinguish these moments is through sensations. The thought that a moment is a discrete marker of sensual response is an idea distinct to modernism, where thinkers believed that people were alienated from their present. So this idea of moments that bring sensation, this idea of Chaplin's gags that inspire momentary laughter, this idea in itself is a concept central to modernity. In this way, Chaplin tells a tale of modernity through the experiences of modernity,